Ah, North America, the buffet of Mother Nature's wildest ideas. Seriously, this continent feels like Mother Earth sat down one day, pulled out her cosmic sketchbook and said, "You know what? Let's throw everything in here. Deserts, mountains, forests, oceans, swamps. Heck, let's sprinkle in a little Arctic just for flavor." And voila, North America was born. But this isn't just a geography lesson. Oh no, my friend, buckle up, because we're about to take a wild ride through the kaleidoscope of landscapes and the quirky creatures who've decided, yep, this place is home. And trust me, some of them are so weird they'll make you wonder if evolution was drunk. Let's start with the basics. North America is like that overachiever kid in school who excels at everything. Want sandy deserts that could roast a marshmallow in 3 seconds flat? Head to the Mojave. Prefer icy tundras where polar bears strut around like runway models? Say hi to Alaska. Oh, and let's not forget the beaches, wetlands, grasslands, mountains and forests. It's like a nature-themed variety show, and every ecosystem has its own set of performers. Take the Rockies, for example. These majestic mountains are like the spine of the continent, stretching from Canada all the way to New Mexico. The animals here are hardcore survivalists. You've got mountain goats defying gravity like Spider-Man, and grizzly bears who, fun fact, can smell food from up to 20 miles away. Yep, 20 miles. So, if you're planning a picnic, maybe reconsider bringing that honey jar. Now let's talk deserts. North America's deserts are the reality TV of the animal kingdom. It's like Survivor, but with rattlesnakes, coyotes, and cacti that look like they could punch you. Take the roadrunner, for instance. This little bird isn't just fast, it's hilariously savage. Not only does it outrun predators, but it also hunts venomous snakes for breakfast. Picture a tiny bird holding a snake like, yeah, I'm the boss now. And then there's the Gila monster, a lizard with venomous saliva. Imagine waking up one day and deciding, you know what? I'm not just going to bite my enemies, I'm going to poison them and look fabulous doing it. Evolution really outdid itself with that one. Moving on to the forests, because let's be honest, you can't talk about North America without mentioning its forests. These places are like nature's soap operas. There's always something dramatic going on. In the temperate rainforests of the Pacific Northwest, you'll find towering trees that are basically the skyscrapers of the natural world. Beneath them, there's a bustling community of black bears, bobcats, and, you guessed it, mushrooms. Yes, mushrooms. These fungi are like the gossip queens of the forest, secretly connecting trees through underground networks. Think of it as the woodland version of Wi-Fi. And speaking of drama, let's not forget the squirrels. These guys are the hoarders of the animal kingdom. They bury nuts everywhere and then forget where they put half of them. But hey, their forgetfulness actually helps forests grow. So maybe squirrels are nature's accidental heroes. Now let's journey north, where the Arctic is doing its best impression of a freezer aisle. It's cold, it's harsh, and yet animals here are absolute legends. Polar bears, for example, are like the James Bonds of the Arctic. Stealthy, powerful, and always dressed in white. But even they face challenges. With melting ice, these apex predators are adapting to survive. And then there's the Arctic fox. This little furball is like the ultimate fashion icon, rocking a snowy white coat in winter and switching to a brownish-grey outfit in summer. Talk about a seasonal wardrobe upgrade. Let's head south to the swamps, where things get weird. Picture this. Alligators lounging like they own the place, frogs croaking their little hearts out, and mosquitoes auditioning for the role of most annoying insect ever. Swamps are basically nature's cauldron, full of life, mystery, and creatures that look like they came straight out of a sci-fi movie. Ever heard of the American alligator? This guy has been around since the dinosaur days, making it the ultimate I survived champion. So, what have we learned so far? North America isn't just a continent, it's a wild, unpredictable masterpiece. From the scorching deserts to the icy tundras, every corner of this land tells a story. And guess what? You're just getting started. Stay tuned, because in the next section, we'll dive even deeper into the quirky, hilarious, and downright fascinating wildlife that calls this diverse land home. Oh, and bring snacks. Just make sure you don't leave them out. Remember the grizzlies? Yeah, they're still sniffing around. Our migration, the ultimate wildlife road trip. Except these aren't your typical vacationers with overstuffed luggage and questionable road trip snacks. Nope, we're talking about some of the most hardcore travelers on the planet. These animals don't need GPS, playlists, or pit stops at sketchy gas stations. They just go. And the distances? Oh, you thought your 10-hour drive to visit Grandma was impressive. Sit down. These creatures cover thousands of miles, braving predators, brutal weather, and bad directions from nature's version of Google Maps, instinct. Let's start with the caribou, also known as reindeer. And no, they don't fly unless Santa's involved. These guys are the OG road warriors, embarking on one of the longest migrations of any land mammal. We're talking about 3,000 miles of trekking every year. That's like walking from New York to Los Angeles, except you're doing it barefoot and in the snow. So why do they do it? Food. Caribou are basically grass-chasing foodies. They migrate to find fresh grazing grounds, kind of like your friend who'll drive 2 hours just to try that new vegan cafe. Along the way, they face challenges like freezing rivers, hungry wolves, and the occasional human wondering, why are all these deer blocking the road? Fun fact, caribou hooves are like Swiss Army knives. They can spread wide to walk on snow, grip slippery ice, and even paddle through rivers. Yes, paddle. These hooves are so multitasking they make our hands feel lazy. Now let's talk about the monarch butterfly, a creature so delicate that a light breeze could knock it over. And yet these little guys manage to pull off one of the most jaw-dropping migrations in the animal kingdom. Every year, monarchs travel up to 3,000 miles from Canada and the northern US all the way down to Mexico. That's right, tiny butterflies crossing entire countries like it's no big deal. And they don't even pack snacks. Here's the wild part. No single butterfly completes the journey. It takes multiple generations to make the full trip. Think of it as a relay race, but with wings and no baton. One generation flies a part of the way, lays eggs and says, "All right, kids, it's your turn now." And the next generation picks up where their parents left off. Oh, and when they finally arrive in Mexico, it's a party. Millions of monarchs gather in forests, covering trees like nature's version of Christmas ornaments. It's so breathtaking that even the trees look like they're thinking, "This is the best outfit I've ever worn." Okay, let's leave the air and hit the water, because salmon migrations are next-level epic. These fish swim upstream to spawn, and when I say upstream, I mean raging rapids that look like they were designed by an evil theme park engineer. Imagine swimming against a current so strong it's basically yelling, "Turn back." Now add hungry bears to the mix, because salmon don't just fight water. They also have to dodge grizzlies who've turned their migration route into an all-you-can-eat buffet. And yet, salmon do this every year with a determination that's downright inspiring. They leap up waterfalls, dodge predators, and somehow find their way back to the exact stream where they were born. That's right, they have built-in GPS. Meanwhile, I still get lost in parking lots. You've probably heard of Africa's wildebeest migration, where millions of animals cross the Serengeti in an epic display of survival and chaos. North America doesn't quite have that level of drama, but our pronghorn antelope are giving it their best shot. These speed demons, seriously, they can outrun cheetahs over long distances, migrate up to 300 miles every year. While that may seem short compared to caribou or monarchs, it's still impressive given the landscape they have to navigate. Mountains, deserts, highways, and the occasional cow who just won't move. And of course, we can't forget the birds. North America is basically a major airport for migratory birds, with flocks coming and going like they're rushing to catch connecting flights. Take the Arctic tern, for example. These tiny seabirds hold the world record for the longest migration, traveling 22,000 miles round trip between the Arctic and Antarctica every year. That's the equivalent of flying around the Earth, twice, and they do it every single year. Imagine having that kind of energy. And then there are the snow geese, who migrate in massive flocks so big they look like floating clouds. Fun fact, snow geese are loud. If you ever hear a honking party in the sky, it's probably them, yelling directions like, "Turn left, Larry! No, your other left!" So, why do these animals put themselves through all this drama? It all comes down to survival. Migration is about finding food, avoiding harsh weather, and making sure the next generation has a chance to thrive. Think of it like this. If your favorite pizza place moved 1,000 miles away, wouldn't you at least consider making the trip? For these animals, the stakes are higher. It's migrate or perish. As humans, we complain about long commutes, traffic jams, and delayed flights. But imagine being a monarch butterfly flying thousands of miles with no Wi-Fi or snacks. Or a salmon leaping up a waterfall while dodging bears. These animals remind us that determination, instinct, and a little bit of courage can go a long way. So next time you're stuck in traffic or grumbling about a delayed bus, just think. At least you're not a caribou crossing a freezing river or a salmon dodging a bear's claws. Perspective is everything. Ah, apex predators, the royalty of the wild. These are the creatures who strut around like they own the place because, well, they kinda do. In North America, we've got some true heavyweights. Wolves, cougars, and grizzly bears. These guys are the top of the food chain, the undisputed champions of their ecosystems. But being a predator isn't all glory and steak dinners. It's a tough gig that involves strategy, survival skills, and sometimes just sheer audacity. Let's dive into the world of North America's greatest hunters and see what makes them tick and hunt. First up, the wolves. These guys are basically the Avengers of the animal kingdom, minus the spandex and CGI explosions. Wolves are pack animals, meaning they operate as a team, and trust me, you don't want to mess with a wolf pack. Each pack has a strict hierarchy. There's the alpha, the beta, and then the rest who are probably just happy to not be last in line for dinner. The alpha male and female lead the group, deciding where to hunt, when to move, and probably yelling, "Let's go!" every 5 minutes, like a stressed-out dad on a family road trip. Wolves are smart, like scary smart. They communicate through a mix of howls, barks, and body language. One howl can mean, "Dinner's ready," while another might be, "Hey Steve, stop sniffing that bush. We're leaving." Oh, and their hunting strategy? Flawless. Wolves use teamwork to bring down prey much larger than themselves, like elk or bison. It's like a heist movie where everyone knows their role: distract, chase, and ambush. If wolves had opposable thumbs, they'd probably be running the world by now. Next, let's talk about the cougar, also known as the mountain lion, puma, or "oh my god, what is that?" depending on where you're from. These big cats are the ninjas of the North American wilderness. They're stealthy, solitary, and can pounce with the kind of precision that makes gymnasts jealous. Cougars are ambush predators, which means they like to hide and wait for the perfect moment to strike. Imagine sitting down at a buffet and suddenly realizing your dinner has been stalking you. That's how their prey feels. What's even more impressive is that cougars can leap up to 15 feet high and 40 feet long. That's like jumping over a school bus. Meanwhile, most of us can't even jump over a puddle without pulling a muscle. But don't let their elegance fool you. Cougars are also absolute weirdos. They chirp to communicate with their cubs, which sounds more like a bird than a ferocious predator. Imagine hearing a sweet little chirp in the woods, only to realize it's coming from a 200-pound killing machine. And now the heavyweight champion, the grizzly bear. If wolves are the strategists and cougars are the stealth experts, grizzlies are the brute force. These bears are massive, with males weighing up to 1,500 pounds. That's like stacking 4 refrigerators on top of each other and giving them claws. Grizzlies have one of the most diverse diets of any apex predator. They'll eat berries, fish, insects, and occasionally take down a moose just because they feel like it. Honestly, their diet is so varied, it's like they're on nature's version of a cheat day every day. And those claws? They're about 4 inches long, roughly the size of a steak knife. Grizzlies use them to dig for roots, catch salmon, and swipe at anyone who gets too close. It's like Wolverine, but with more fur and fewer one-liners. But here's the kicker. Grizzlies can run up to 35 miles per hour. That's faster than Usain Bolt. So if you ever find yourself face-to-face with a grizzly, running is not an option. Your best bet is to stay calm, look non-threatening, and hope the bear didn't wake up on the wrong side of the den. Now you might be wondering, who's the top predator? Wolves, cougars, or grizzlies? The answer is, it depends. These predators rarely cross paths, but when they do, it's like nature's version of a boxing match. Wolves are pack hunters, so they've got numbers on their side. A single cougar could take down one wolf, but not an entire pack. Grizzlies, on the other hand, are so massive that neither wolves nor cougars dare mess with them, most of the time. There are exceptions, though. A pack of wolves might harass a grizzly to steal its kill, and cougars have been known to pull off daring escapes when cornered by a bear. It's all about survival, strategy, and knowing when to fight or flee. Now let's get serious for a moment. Apex predators play a crucial role in keeping ecosystems balanced. They control prey populations, which in turn affects vegetation, which then impacts the entire food web. It's like a giant game of Jenga, and the predators are the pieces holding everything together. Take wolves, for example. When they were reintroduced to Yellowstone National Park, they didn't just control deer populations. They actually changed the behavior of the deer, which allowed vegetation to recover, which brought back birds, beavers, and even helped reshape rivers. Yep, wolves are basically nature's project managers. So what can we learn from these apex predators? First, teamwork matters. Wolves don't succeed because they're the biggest or fastest. They succeed because they work together. Second, patience is key. Cougars wait for the perfect moment to strike, proving that sometimes it pays to bide your time. And third, don't mess with a grizzly. Seriously, just don't. The bald eagle, the feathered celebrity of North America. This bird is so iconic it might as well have its own Hollywood star, or at the very least a line of overpriced patriotic merch. From gracing the US national emblem to starring in nature documentaries, the bald eagle has mastered the art of branding. But don't let the majestic poses fool you. These birds are full of surprises, quirks, and a few, let's say, unflattering habits. So grab your binoculars, or pretend you're holding them, because we're about to dive into the life of North America's favorite bird of prey. Let's start with the obvious. Bald eagles are stunning. With their piercing yellow eyes, sharp beaks, and glorious white-feathered heads, they look like the regal overlords of the sky. But why are they called bald if they clearly have a full head of feathers? The term bald comes from an Old English word, baldo, which means white. So technically they're not bald, they're just rocking a white cap that would put snow-covered mountain peaks to shame. But here's a fun fact. Juvenile bald eagles don't have that iconic white head. Nope. They look more like scruffy teenagers, with mottled brown feathers that scream, "I'm still figuring myself out." It takes about 5 years for them to grow into their signature look, which in bird terms is the equivalent of finally hitting your style stride after years of awkward fashion choices. If bald eagles had a Tinder profile, their bio would probably read, "Lover of fish, scavenger of snacks, and occasional dumpster diver." That's right. These majestic birds are obsessed with fish. They'll soar over lakes and rivers, spot their prey from hundreds of feet in the air, and dive down with laser precision to snatch a fish with their talons. It's like sushi takeout, but with more drama. But here's where things get interesting. Bald eagles aren't above stealing. In fact, they're kind of the kleptomaniacs of the bird world. If they spot another bird, like an osprey carrying a freshly caught fish, they'll swoop in, flash their talons, and snatch the meal mid-air. It's like the aerial version of stealing fries off someone's plate, but way cooler. And let's not forget their scavenging habits. Bald eagles will happily feast on carrion, aka dead animals, when the opportunity arises. That patriotic image of an eagle perched on a mountain. Yeah, sometimes it's perched on a pile of leftovers. Bald eagles aren't just hunters, they're also acrobats of the sky. During courtship, they perform a jaw-dropping display called the cartwheel. Two eagles will lock talons mid-air, spiral downward in a dramatic freefall, and only let go at the last second. It's like a high-stakes game of chicken, except instead of cars, it's, eagles. This display isn't just for show, it's part of the bonding process. Once they've impressed each other with their aerial stunts, bald eagles form lifelong partnerships. That's right, they're basically the ultimate power couple of the bird world. When it comes to real estate, bald eagles go big or go home. Their nests, called eyries, are massive. We're talking up to 13 feet deep and weighing over a ton. That's basically the bird equivalent of living in a mansion. And they don't just slap these nests together. Oh no. Eagles meticulously build and maintain their nests, adding new sticks and soft materials every year. If HGTV made a show about bird homes, bald eagles would steal the spotlight. But here's the funny part. While their nests are architectural masterpieces, bald eagles themselves can be clumsy. Watching one struggle to carry a branch twice its size is both impressive and hilarious. It's like seeing someone try to move a couch up a narrow staircase. Bald eagle parenting is a true team effort. Both mum and dad take turns incubating the eggs, hunting for food, and feeding the chicks. And when the eaglets hatch, chaos. Baby eagles are demanding little fluffballs with insatiable appetites. Parents will spend hours catching fish just to keep their noisy offspring satisfied. As the eaglets grow, they practice flapping their wings in the nest, a process that often involves a lot of flailing and a few ungraceful moments. Eventually they take their first flight, and let me tell you, it's not always smooth. Imagine a baby taking its first steps, but instead of wobbling on the ground, it's wobbling in the air. Now let's get serious for a moment. Bald eagles are more than just pretty faces. They're a symbol of resilience. Back in the mid-20th century, these birds were on the brink of extinction due to habitat loss and the widespread use of the pesticide DDT. Their populations plummeted, and it looked like the bald eagle might become a thing of the past. But thanks to conservation efforts, including the banning of DDT and protections under the Endangered Species Act, bald eagles made a stunning comeback. Today, they're no longer considered endangered, and their populations continue to thrive. It's a reminder that with the right actions, we can help nature bounce back. So what can we learn from these iconic birds? First, embrace your quirks. Bald eagles might be majestic, but they're also opportunistic scavengers who aren't afraid to steal a fish when the opportunity arises. Second, teamwork matters. Whether it's building a nest or raising chicks, bald eagles show that cooperation is key. And finally, never underestimate the power of a good comeback story. Welcome to the desert, my friend. Mother Nature's version of Survivor. This is the land where the sun feels like it has a personal vendetta, and water is as rare as a full Wi-Fi signal in the middle of nowhere. Yet somehow life flourishes here. And not just any life. Wildlife so crafty, so resilient, and sometimes so downright bizarre that they deserve their own reality show. Let's dive into the astonishing world of desert survivors, where everything is hot, dry, and just a little bit weird. If the desert had a mascot, it'd be the roadrunner. Why? Because this bird embodies the "don't mess with me" energy of the Southwest. Let's set the record straight, though. This isn't your cartoon roadrunner perpetually outsmarting Wile E. Coyote, although they are known to taunt actual coyotes. No, the real-life roadrunner is a scrappy little bird with a top speed of 20 miles per hour. That's faster than most people sprint, and yes, it's faster than a coyote on a bad day. What makes the roadrunner a desert MVP? It's a master opportunist. This bird will eat just about anything. Lizards, insects, snakes, and yes, even venomous rattlesnakes. Watching a roadrunner take on a snake is like witnessing the ultimate desert showdown. Cue the Wild West music. And here's the kicker. They'll slam the snake against a rock until it's ready to be, served. Who needs a frying pan when you've got grit and determination? But wait, there's more! Roadrunners are hilariously dramatic. To cool off, they'll fluff up their feathers and expose a patch of black skin on their backs to absorb the morning sun. Picture a bird sunbathing and pretending it's at a spa. It's both ridiculous and amazing. Now let's talk about the Gila monster, the desert's resident bad boy. At first glance, this slow-moving, chunky lizard doesn't scream danger. But don't be fooled. This guy packs venom in its bite, making it one of the only venomous lizards in the world. It's like the Gila monster woke up one day and thought, why not be both adorable and terrifying? These lizards are built for desert survival. They spend up to 95% of their lives underground, emerging only when food is abundant. And when they eat, they really go for it. A single meal can sustain them for months. Imagine having a buffet and then not needing to eat again until next season. Gila monsters are basically the masters of meal prep. Oh, and their venom. It's not just for show. It's being studied for potential medical uses, including treatments for diabetes. So next time you see a Gila monster, from a safe distance of course, give it a little mental high five for being both fascinating and helpful. You can't talk about desert survivors without mentioning the kangaroo rat, the pint-sized ninja of the desert. These adorable rodents look like something Pixar would design. A mix of big eyes, long legs, and an energy that screams, "I'm small, but I'm scrappy." Kangaroo rats are hydration wizards. They can survive their entire lives without drinking a single drop of water. How? They get all the moisture they need from the seeds they eat. Meanwhile, you're here chugging bottles of water and still feeling thirsty. And their survival skills don't stop there. When predators like snakes come calling, kangaroo rats literally leap into action. They can jump up to 9 feet in a single bound, essentially turning into tiny, furry parkour experts. It's like watching a rodent-sized action movie. Now let's give it up for the sidewinder rattlesnake, the desert's ultimate multitasker. This snake has a unique way of getting around. It moves sideways across the sand in a motion that looks equal parts graceful and terrifying. Why sideways? It minimizes the amount of its body in contact with the scorching sand. Smart, right? But the sidewinder isn't just a clever mover. It's also an expert hunter. It buries itself in the sand, leaving only its eyes and nostrils exposed, and waits for unsuspecting prey to wander by. Imagine lying in wait like a ninja, except your weapons are fangs and venom. And here's a fun tidbit. Scientists have studied the sidewinder's movement to design robots that can navigate sandy terrain. So, the next time you're impressed by a high-tech rover on Mars, just remember, it probably owes a thank you card to a snake. Desert tortoises are the wise old sages of the desert. These slow-moving reptiles can live up to 80 years, which is practically an eternity in the harsh desert environment. They spend most of their time in burrows, avoiding the extreme heat, and they can go up to a year without water. A year? That's like winning the Hydration Olympics. But don't underestimate these tortoises. They play a crucial role in their ecosystem, digging burrows that provide shelter for other animals. In a way, they're like the Airbnb hosts of the desert, offering prime real estate to anyone who needs it. If there's one thing all these desert animals have in common, it's their incredible ability to adapt. From sunbathing roadrunners to water-conserving kangaroo rats, Every creature in the desert has its own unique survival strategy. And honestly, it's a little inspiring. If these animals can thrive in a place where the ground literally burns your feet, surely we can handle whatever life throws at us, right? What can we learn from the desert survivors? Stay resourceful. Whether it's finding water in seeds or food in unlikely places, desert animals know how to make the most of what they've got. Adapt to your environment. Life is all about finding creative solutions to tough situations. Be fearless. Whether you're a roadrunner tackling a snake or a Gila monster owning your venomous reputation, confidence goes a long way. Welcome to the ocean, my friend, the largest, wildest, and most mysterious playground on Earth. It's a world where giants glide silently through the deep, otters hold hands for naps, and sharks remind everyone why they've been ruling the seas for millions of years. North America's marine wildlife is like a greatest hits album of the ocean, featuring some of the most fascinating, fearsome, and downright adorable creatures to ever exist. So grab your snorkel, or just your sense of wonder, as we dive headfirst into the salty, splashy world of North America's oceans. Let's start with the headliner, the humpback whale. These oceanic divas are famous for their songs, which can travel for miles underwater. Each song is unique, like an underwater Spotify playlist, and scientists believe they're used for everything from attracting mates to flexing on other whales. Imagine a whale thinking, "Hey Karen, listen to this falsetto. Bet you can't hit that note." But it's not just their vocal skills that impress. Humpbacks are also acrobatic performers. They breach, jump out of the water with such force and grace that it's like they're auditioning for Cirque du Soleil. And the best part, no one knows exactly why they do it. Maybe they're trying to shake off parasites. Maybe they're showing off. Or maybe, just maybe, they're doing it because it's fun. Fun fact, a humpback whale's heart is the size of a small car. So, if anyone ever says you've got a big heart, just tell them, "Yeah, but I'm no humpback." Now, let's shift gears from majestic giants to the ocean's most adorable overachievers, sea otters. These furry little critters spend most of their time floating on their backs, looking like they're living their best lives. And honestly, they probably are. Sea otters have a secret weapon, a built-in pocket in their armpits where they stash tools. That's right, these guys are basically nature's version of Batman. They use rocks to crack open shellfish, a skill they've passed down through generations. Imagine a baby otter asking, "Mum, how do I open this clam?" And Mum replying, "Here, take this rock. It's been in the family for years." But wait, it gets cuter. Sea otters hold hands while they sleep to keep from drifting apart. It's like the ocean's version of a sleepover, complete with a cuddle puddle. And if that doesn't warm your heart, nothing will. Cue the Jaws theme, because it's time to talk about the most misunderstood celebrity of the sea, the great white shark. These apex predators are the kings and queens of the ocean food chain. But they're not the mindless killing machines Hollywood makes them out to be. In fact, great whites are surprisingly curious creatures. They use their infamous test bite to figure out what something is. Unfortunately, when you're a 4,000-pound shark, a little nibble can cause some serious damage. It's like someone trying to taste test a cookie and accidentally biting off the whole plate. Great whites are built for speed and stealth, with bodies that can reach up to 20 feet long. And their hunting technique? Pure genius. They'll swim deep below their prey, then rocket upward with explosive force in an ambush attack. It's the underwater equivalent of yelling, "Surprise!" and leaving everyone stunned. Fun fact, great whites can detect a drop of blood in 25 gallons of water. So, yeah, they're basically the ocean's most intense game of hide and seek. If the ocean had a stand-up comedian, it'd be the dolphin. These marine mammals are ridiculously smart, often outwitting both their prey and researchers. Dolphins have been known to play games, surf waves, and even blow bubble rings for fun. Who knew the ocean came with its own entertainment committee? Dolphins also have a knack for teamwork. They'll hunt in pods, corralling fish into tight balls before taking turns feasting. It's like an underwater buffet, and everyone gets a plate. But dolphins aren't just about fun and games. They've been observed protecting other animals, including humans, from sharks. Imagine swimming in the ocean, only to have a pod of dolphins show up like a marine bodyguard service. Talk about VIP treatment. Speaking of ocean brainiacs, let's not forget the octopus. These 8-armed escape artists are like the Houdinis of the sea. Give them a jar, and they'll unscrew the lid. Put them in a tank, and they'll find a way out. Honestly, if they ever learn to use smartphones, we're all in trouble. Octopuses are also masters of disguise. They can change the color and texture of their skin to blend into their surroundings, making them the ultimate hide-and-seek champions. One minute they're a rock, the next they're gone. It's like magic, but wet and squishy. Fun fact, octopuses have 3 hearts. 2 pump blood to their gills, and the third pumps it to the rest of their body. And when they're stressed, that third heart stops. So if life ever feels overwhelming, just remember, you've got one heart and it's doing great. You can't talk about marine wildlife without giving a shout out to crabs, the ocean's sideways scuttlers. These guys look like they've been designed by someone who got bored halfway through a biology class. Crabs come in all shapes and sizes, from the tiny pea crab to the enormous king crab. And they're not picky eaters. They'll chow down on anything from algae to dead fish. It's like they're the ocean's garbage collectors, keeping things clean while looking fabulously weird. But crabs aren't just scavengers, they're also fierce fighters. Those claws aren't just for show. They'll use them to defend their territory, attract mates, and even perform a little crab dance when they're feeling feisty. Every creature in the ocean plays a role in keeping the ecosystem balanced. Humpbacks help regulate fish populations. Sea otters maintain kelp forests by eating sea urchins, and sharks ensure healthy fish stocks by preying on the weak and sick. It's a delicate dance, and every participant is essential. What can we learn from the ocean? Teamwork makes the dream work. From dolphins to humpbacks, collaboration is key. Stay curious. Whether you're a great white or an octopus, a little exploration goes a long way. Adapt to survive. The ocean is constantly changing, and its inhabitants know how to roll with the waves. Welcome to the mountains, my friend! These aren't just lumps of rock sticking out of the earth. Nope. North America's mountain ranges are like nature's grand theaters, where some of the most epic and bizarre animal stories unfold daily. From the rugged peaks of the Rockies to the foggy allure of the Appalachians, all the way to the dramatic heights of the Sierra Nevadas, these mountains are home to creatures that are as unique as the landscapes they roam. Buckle up your hiking boots, or just settle into your chair, because we're about to explore the mysteries of North America's mountain wildlife. Bring snacks. It's going to be a long but fun trek. The Rockies. Stretching over 3,000 miles, this mountain range is basically the spine of North America. And like any good backbone, it's strong, rugged, and filled with surprises. Picture towering peaks, lush alpine meadows, and more wildlife drama than a reality TV show. Let's start with the undisputed champions of vertical living, mountain goats. These fluffy little daredevils make climbing sheer cliffs look as easy as walking to your fridge. Their hooves have a secret weapon, a rough, rubbery texture that's basically nature's version of rock climbing shoes. Imagine this. You're hiking, feeling pretty good about your 5-mile trek, and then you look up to see a mountain goat casually standing on a cliff edge the width of a pencil. It's like they're saying, "Oh, you think that was hard? Hold my grass." Fun fact, mountain goats aren't actually goats. They're more closely related to antelopes, which means that whole goat yoga trend, total species mix-up. Next up, the elk. These majestic beasts are like the opera singers of the Rockies, especially during mating season. The males, or bulls, let out a high-pitched bugle that sounds like someone stepped on a bagpipe. It's part love song, part intimidation tactic, and 100% hilarious if you're not expecting it. Picture this, a bull elk sees a rival. He puffs out his chest, tilts his head, and belts out a bugle so loud it echoes across the valley. The rival elk? Probably thinking, "Dude, take it down a notch, we're not at the opera." Fun fact, elk antlers can grow up to 1 inch a day during peak season. That's faster than your hair grows when you're late for a haircut. On the other side of the continent, we've got the Appalachians, a much older, gentler range with a vibe that says, "We've seen some things." These mountains are shrouded in mist, mystery, and a rich history of wildlife that's just as captivating as their legends. You can't talk about Appalachian wildlife without mentioning black bears. These furry giants are like the Kardashians of the forest, famous, fascinating, and always up to something. They'll eat just about anything, from berries to garbage to that picnic you left unattended. Here's a bear survival tip. If you see one rifling through your trash, don't try to take a selfie. Trust me, no amount of Instagram likes is worth becoming a bear's next snack. Fun fact, black bears aren't always black. They can be brown, cinnamon, or even blonde. So, if you've ever been confused about whether you saw a bear or a really hairy hiker, you're not alone. Now let's talk about a less obvious but equally fascinating resident, the salamander. The Appalachians are the salamander capital of the world, with more species here than anywhere else. These little guys are like the unsung heroes of the ecosystem, keeping insect populations in check and just generally being cool and slimy. Some Appalachian salamanders can regrow lost limbs, which is both amazing and slightly creepy. Imagine being a salamander's friend and casually saying, "Hey, can I borrow your arm?" Only for them to grow another one like it's no big deal. Fun fact: the hellbender salamander, found in Appalachian streams, is nicknamed the loser lizard because of its wrinkly appearance. Honestly, it looks like it just rolled out of bed. Same, hellbender, same. And finally we reach the Sierra Nevadas, where everything is bigger, bolder, and more dramatic. These mountains are home to giant sequoias, sparkling lakes, and some of the most iconic animals in North America. Cougars, also known as mountain lions or pumas, are the stealthy, shadowy predators of the Sierra Nevadas. These big cats are so good at hiding that you'll probably never see one in the wild. If you do, congrats! You've won the wildlife lottery, as long as you're not their next meal. Cougars can leap up to 40 feet in a single bound. To put that into perspective, that's like jumping over a school bus. Imagine a cougar in the Olympics. Gold medal every time. Fun fact: cougars have the largest range of any wild land animal in the Americas. They're like the digital nomads of the animal kingdom, except instead of working from coffee shops, they're hunting deer in the woods. Let's look up, shall we? The golden eagle is the Sierra Nevada's apex aerial predator. These birds are so powerful they can take down prey as large as a coyote. Their talons are like nature's version of power tools, sharp, strong, and extremely effective. Golden eagles are also fiercely territorial. If another bird dares to invade their airspace, they'll engage in a mid-air duel. It's like Top Gun, but with feathers. Fun fact: golden eagles can spot a rabbit from over 2 miles away. That's better eyesight than your friend who brags about their 20/20 vision. Now, here's the thing. Mountains aren't just home to these incredible animals. They're ecosystems that support life in ways we're still discovering. From the tiniest insects to the mightiest predators, every creature plays a role in maintaining the delicate balance of mountain life. So the next time you're in the mountains, take a moment to appreciate the diversity around you. Look up to the eagles, listen for the bugles of elk, and watch out for those daring mountain goats. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find a bit of the mystery for yourself. Ah, the American bison. A creature so iconic it's basically the celebrity of the prairie world. If animals had a red carpet, the bison would walk it, tossing hay at adoring fans. This chapter dives into the fascinating, tumultuous life of the American bison, from being the rock star of the Great Plains to the brink of extinction and its miraculous revival. Grab some popcorn, or maybe some grass if you want to feel bison-level authentic, and let's dive into this epic tale. Let's start with some mind-blowing stats. Did you know an adult male bison can weigh up to 2,000 pounds? That's roughly the same as a compact car, except this car can run at 35 miles per hour. Imagine your Prius growing horns and charging across a field. Terrifying, right? Yet bison aren't all brawn. They're a keystone species, which means their presence is crucial to maintaining the ecosystem. Without them, the Great Plains would probably look like your backyard after a barbecue, disorganized and sad. But here's the kicker. These beasts are surprisingly graceful. Watch them run, and they're like the ballerinas of the prairie. Well, if ballerinas had horns and a bad temper when provoked, bison are social animals, hanging out in herds that are basically their version of a neighborhood block party. Female-led herds are like PTA meetings, with moms and their calves sticking together. Male bison, on the other hand, often roam in bachelor groups, probably debating who's got the best shaggy beard. Spoiler, they all do. Speaking of beards, can we talk about their fashion sense? That thick, shaggy coat isn't just for looks. It's a survival tool. In winter, their fur grows so thick that snow can sit on it without melting. Essentially, they're walking igloos. And when summer rolls around, they shed that coat like they're auditioning for a shampoo commercial. You'll see them rolling around in dirt, scratching against trees, or using any available surface to rub off their old fur. It's nature's makeover montage. Let's rewind a few centuries. Before European settlers arrived, there were an estimated 30 to 60 million bison roaming North America. They were everywhere, like prairie celebrities, munching grass and throwing shade at slower animals. Indigenous peoples revered them, relying on bison for food, clothing, tools, and spiritual ceremonies. They were more than animals. They were life itself. Enter the settlers, who saw the bison not as a life force, but as a walking buffet and, unfortunately, a target. By the late 19th century, hunting had brought bison numbers down to fewer than 1,000. That's right. These majestic creatures almost went extinct faster than you can say manifest destiny. Imagine taking the most iconic creature of the continent and reducing it to a footnote. It's like if everyone suddenly decided pandas were out of style. Ridiculous. The reasons for this mass slaughter weren't just for meat or fur. Some of it was strategic. By wiping out bison, settlers aimed to weaken indigenous communities that relied on them. It's one of history's darkest chapters, proving that humans can be the apex predators of bad decisions. Just when it seemed the bison's story was headed for a tragic ending, conservationists and indigenous communities stepped in like the ultimate plot twist. In the early 1900s, people realized, hey, maybe it's not a great idea to kill off an entire species. Efforts began to protect the remaining bison, with programs to breed and reintroduce them into the wild. Today, there are approximately 500,000 bison in North America. While most are in private herds, about 30,000 roam free, living their best bison lives. One of the most inspiring efforts comes from indigenous-led initiatives. Tribes like the Blackfeet Nation have been working to restore bison to their ancestral lands, recognizing the deep cultural and ecological significance of these animals. It's like seeing an old friend return home, except this friend weighs a ton and eats 24/7. Fun bison facts to impress your friends. Bison are the largest mammals in North America. Take that, moose! Their humps aren't just for show. They're packed with muscle to help bison plow through snow and dirt. Think of it as their built-in snowplow. Despite their size, they're surprisingly agile. Bison can jump up to 6 feet in the air. Yes, they could probably clear your backyard fence. Bison grunts sound like a mix between a bear growl and your uncle snoring after Thanksgiving dinner. It's both terrifying and oddly comforting. Bison aren't just cool because they look like they walked out of a prehistoric action movie. They play a vital role in their ecosystem. Their grazing patterns help maintain grassland health, promoting biodiversity. They also create wallows, shallow depressions in the ground that collect rainwater, providing habitats for other animals. But perhaps the most important lesson the bison teach us is resilience. Despite being hunted to near extinction, they've made a remarkable comeback. They're living proof that with a little effort and a lot of love, we can right the wrongs of the past. The American bison is more than a living legend. It's a symbol of strength, resilience, and the interconnectedness of life. So the next time you see a bison, whether in a national park or on the back of a nickel, take a moment to appreciate the incredible journey that brought them here. And maybe, just maybe, toss a mental thank you their way for sticking around despite our human nonsense. Now, who's up for a road trip to see these magnificent creatures in the wild? Just remember, no selfies too close. Trust me, a bison's version of personal space is roughly the size of a football field. Welcome to the temperate rainforests of North America, a world where the trees are so tall they seem to touch the clouds, where moss carpets every surface like nature's plush green rug, and where life teems in every nook and cranny. This chapter is all about these magical forests and their fascinating inhabitants, from the iconic black bear to the lesser-known, but no less awesome, salamander. So grab your imaginary hiking boots and let's go on an adventure that's equal parts educational, funny, and packed with surprises. You might be thinking, rainforests? Aren't those supposed to be tropical, with parrots and jaguars? Sure, tropical rainforests get all the press, but temperate rainforests are the underappreciated gems of the ecosystem world. They're like the indie band that's cooler than mainstream pop, less flashy, but just as impressive. Temperate rainforests are found in cooler climates, and North America's finest examples stretch along the Pacific Northwest. Think Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia. These forests get an absurd amount of rain. We're talking 60 to 200 inches per year, which is why everything here looks like it's been dipped in green. Ferns, mosses, and lichen dominate the understory, while ancient trees like Sitka spruce and western hemlock tower above, creating a canopy so dense it feels like nature's own cathedral. Let's kick things off with the black bear, the unofficial mascot of temperate rainforests. These bears are like the chilled-out neighbors of the animal world. While their grizzly cousins are out in the open being all dramatic and apex predatory, black bears prefer the quieter life in the forest. They're the introverts of the bear family. Black bears are omnivores with a diet that's basically the forest version of a charcuterie board. Berries? Check. Insects? Check. Fish? Double check. They've even been known to raid picnic baskets, proving they're living their best Yogi Bear life. But don't let their love of snacks fool you. These bears can climb trees like it's nobody's business. They're essentially furry ninjas, so don't mess with them. Now let's shine a spotlight on a creature that doesn't get nearly enough love. The salamander. These little guys are like the underdog heroes of the forest. They're small, they're slimy, and they're ridiculously good at staying hidden. But don't underestimate them. Salamanders are a vital part of the ecosystem. Some species, like the Pacific giant salamander, can grow up to a foot long, making them the Godzillas of the salamander world. They're also incredibly resilient. Salamanders breathe through their skin, which is both cool and kind of gross when you think about it. This unique trait allows them to thrive in the damp environment of temperate rainforests, where the air is as moist as a sauna. And here's a fun fact. Salamanders can regenerate lost limbs. Imagine losing an arm and just growing it back like it's no big deal. If salamanders had social media, they'd be trending every day. Temperate rainforests are like nature's version of a crowded apartment complex. Everyone's got a role, and the place is buzzing with life. Here are some of the standout residents. Roosevelt elk. These majestic creatures are the largest of the elk species, and they're basically the forest's gentle giants. Watching them graze is like seeing a medieval knight casually snack on grass. Banana slugs. Yes, they're slimy, and yes, they look like overripe bananas, but these slugs are crucial decomposers, breaking down organic material and recycling nutrients. Plus, they're kind of adorable in a weird, squishy way. Marbled murrelets. These seabirds are the ultimate introverts, nesting high up in ancient trees far from the coast. Think of them as the hermits of the bird world, living their best solitary lives. The trees in temperate rainforests are the stuff of legends. Some of them are over 1,000 years old, making them the wise elders of the forest. Standing next to a Sitka spruce or a Douglas fir is a humbling experience. It's like meeting the LeBron James of trees. You're just in awe of their greatness. But these trees aren't just there to look pretty. They're carbon-storing machines helping to combat climate change. They also provide habitats for countless species, from birds to insects to, you guessed it, more moss. Seriously, the amount of moss in these forests is almost comical. It's like nature went overboard with the green decor. While the canopy gets all the attention, the forest floor is where the real magic happens. It's a bustling metropolis of fungi, insects, and decomposing plant matter. Fungi, in particular, are the unsung heroes here. They form vast underground networks that help trees communicate with each other. Yep, trees talk. It's like a secret forest internet, but cooler and with fewer spam emails. And let's not forget the critters. From tiny beetles to scurrying rodents, the forest floor is alive with activity. It's like Times Square for wildlife, but with fewer selfie sticks. Temperate rainforests are more than just pretty landscapes. They're ecological powerhouses. They store vast amounts of carbon, produce oxygen, and support an incredible diversity of life. They're also a source of inspiration, reminding us of the beauty and complexity of nature. But these forests are under threat from logging, climate change, and development. Protecting them isn't just about saving trees. It's about preserving an entire way of life for countless species. So the next time you visit a temperate rainforest, take a moment to appreciate its wonders, and maybe give a salamander a mental high five for being so awesome. Temperate rainforests are like nature's hidden treasure chest, filled with wonders waiting to be discovered. From the black bear's quiet strength to the salamander's slimy charm, every creature here has a story to tell. And as you explore these forests, remember, you're not just a visitor. You're part of a larger, interconnected world that's as fragile as it is beautiful. So tread lightly, breathe deeply, and let the magic of the forest fill you with awe. Let's take a moment to appreciate the underdogs of the animal kingdom, the small but absolutely essential creatures. And I'm not talking about your annoying neighbor's chihuahua. I mean the unsung heroes of our ecosystems, bees, ants, prairie dogs, and their tiny but mighty pals. These little dynamos are proof that size doesn't matter, impact does. So buckle up, because we're diving into the small, quirky, and downright hilarious world of these pint-sized powerhouses. Oh, bees. You've probably heard the phrase, save the bees, a million times. But why do we care so much about these little buzzers? Because without them, life as we know it would go straight down the drain. Bees are the unpaid interns of the natural world, tirelessly pollinating plants that make up about 75% of the crops we eat. That avocado toast you love? Thank a bee. Blueberries, almonds, and even your morning coffee. Yep, bees again. But wait, bees aren't just worker drones. They're also hilarious. Did you know they communicate through dance? That's right. They shake their tiny bee booties in what's called the waggle dance. This dance tells other bees where to find the best flowers. Imagine if humans did that. Hey Bob, where's the Starbucks? Hold on, let me shimmy in its general direction. Also, bees are hardcore. Ever heard of the honeybee beard? Beekeepers let bees swarm their face on purpose to demonstrate how chill bees can be when handled with care. Meanwhile, I'm over here losing my mind when a single bee comes near my soda can. Ants are like the overachievers of the insect world. These little dudes live in colonies that function like finely tuned machines. Some ants farm fungus, others herd aphids like tiny squishy cattle. Yes, you heard that right. Ants are literally farming, but don't be fooled by their size. Ants can carry objects up to 50 times their body weight. That's like you lifting a car over your head and casually walking it to your garage. Feeling weak yet? Good. And let's talk about army ants. These guys are the action heroes of the ant world. They form living bridges with their own bodies to cross gaps. Imagine the level of trust that takes. Hey Steve, can I step on your face to get to the other side? Sure thing, buddy. Meanwhile, I'm still salty about that friend who didn't save me a seat at brunch. Prairie dogs might sound like they're just country cousins of city rats, but don't let the name fool you. These fluffy critters are ecosystem engineers. Their underground burrows act as homes for dozens of other species, from burrowing owls to snakes. They're like landlords, but the good kind. And prairie dogs are chatty. They have one of the most complex vocal languages in the animal kingdom. Scientists have found that prairie dogs can describe specific predators. For instance, they have a unique word for a coyote versus a hawk. Imagine if humans had that level of specificity. Instead of yelling, "Run, it's Karen," we'd have separate words for Karen who wants to speak to the manager, and Karen who just wants a refund. Oh, and they're also hilarious to watch. Prairie dogs love a good dramatic pose. They'll stand on their hind legs, chest puffed out, as if to say, "I own this prairie. You see this grass? Mine." Let's not forget about other small but vital creatures like butterflies, not just pretty faces. Not just butterflies help pollinate flowers and are indicators of a healthy environment. Plus, they're basically nature's flying confetti, earthworms. These slimy heroes aerate the soil and recycle nutrients. They're like the compost kings of the underworld. Beetles. Some beetles are nature's janitors, cleaning up dead plants and animals. Others, like the dung beetle, have the glamorous job of rolling poop into balls. Talk about dedication to your craft. Spiders. Love them or hate them, spiders are pest control experts. They're the reason you're not constantly swarmed by flies and mosquitoes. Also, spider silk is so strong it's being studied for use in everything from medicine to engineering. Basically, spiders are tiny geniuses. If you're thinking, why should I care about a bunch of bugs and rodents? Let me stop you right there. These tiny creatures are the foundation of our ecosystems. Without them, the whole thing collapses like a Jenga tower. Bees pollinate the plants that feed us. Ants and earthworms keep the soil healthy. Prairie dogs create habitats for other animals. And let's not forget how much they add to the world's entertainment value. Who needs Netflix when you've got a prairie dog colony to watch? Feeling inspired? Here are some ways to help these tiny heroes. Plant a bee-friendly garden with lots of native flowers. Bonus points if you do a waggle dance while planting. Build an ant farm. Watch their teamwork in action and feel bad about your own procrastination. Visit a prairie dog town. Just don't try to move in. They're not taking tenants. Stop squishing spiders. Seriously, they're on your side. So the next time you see a bee buzzing around, an ant carrying a crumb, or a prairie dog striking a pose, give them a little nod of respect. These tiny creatures might be small, but they're making a huge impact. And who knows, maybe one day you'll be inspired to do something mighty yourself. Even if it's just lifting a car like an ant. No pressure. Nighttime in North America. The sun dips below the horizon, painting the skies in hues of purple and gold, and the stars begin their glittering dance across the heavens. While many creatures settle down for a good night's sleep, a secret world awakens, buzzing with life and activity. Welcome to the night shift, the realm of nocturnal creatures. Grab your flashlight, or better yet, some night vision goggles, because we're diving headfirst into the shadows to uncover the incredible, often hilarious, and downright fascinating lives of owls, raccoons, bats, and more. Let's kick things off with the reigning monarch of the night sky, the owl. These majestic birds of prey are like the ninjas of the animal kingdom, equipped with razor-sharp talons, eerily silent flight, and those big, unblinking eyes that look like they've seen all your secrets. Owls are nothing short of awe-inspiring. Owls have a unique superpower. They're practically soundless when they fly. Why? Their feathers are specially designed with soft edges that muffle air turbulence. It's like having built-in noise-cancelling headphones, except instead of jamming out to tunes, they're sneaking up on their prey. Imagine being a poor, unsuspecting mouse just vibing in the moonlight and then, whoosh, your owl dinner. Oh, and let's not forget their heads. Owls can rotate them up to 270 degrees. That's not just impressive, it's downright unsettling. You can't sneak up on these guys. They've got eyes in the back of their heads. Literally. Well, almost literally. Fun fact, not all owls hoot. Some make screeching sounds that could rival a horror movie soundtrack. It's like they're auditioning for the role of spookiest bird in the forest. And they'd win, hands down. Next on our nocturnal roster, we have raccoons, those adorable little mischief makers. With their black masks and tiny dexterous hands, raccoons are like the cat burglars of the animal world. They'll raid your trash can, eat your leftovers, and look you straight in the eye as if to say, "What? I'm helping you compost." Raccoons are the ultimate opportunists. They'll eat just about anything. Insects, fruit, nuts, and even pizza slices if they're lucky enough to stumble upon one. And their hands? Oh, those little hands. They can open jars, unlatch doors, and probably solve a Rubik's Cube if given enough time. It's like they've been to Raccoon College and majored in human garbage exploitation. But don't let their antics fool you. Raccoons are highly intelligent creatures. In fact, they've been observed remembering solutions to complex problems for up to 3 years. That's longer than some of us remember our own passwords. No discussion of nocturnal animals would be complete without bats. These little flying mammals get a bad rap thanks to vampire myths and Halloween decorations. But they're actually some of the coolest and most beneficial creatures around. First off, let's address the elephant in the room. No, bats won't suck your blood. Well, unless you're in Central or South America and stumble across a vampire bat, but even then they're more interested in livestock than humans. The bats of North America are primarily insectivores, which means they feast on mosquitoes and other pesky bugs. A single bat can eat up to 1,000 mosquitoes in an hour. If that's not superhero material, I don't know what is. Bats navigate using echolocation, which is like having built-in sonar. They emit high-pitched sounds that bounce off objects, helping them see in the dark. It's so precise that they can detect something as thin as a human hair. Imagine trying to find your car keys in the dark using only sound waves. Yeah, bats are way cooler than us. And can we talk about bat colonies? Some species, like the Mexican free-tailed bat, gather in colonies numbering in the millions. When they take off for their nightly feeding frenzy, it looks like a living tornado of wings. It's both mesmerizing and a little terrifying, like nature's version of rush hour traffic. Foxes are the night's sly strategists. With their bushy tails and cunning eyes, they're like the James Bonds of the animal kingdom. They're stealthy, resourceful, and can adapt to almost any environment, from dense forests to urban neighborhoods. Foxes are omnivores, which means they'll eat anything from small mammals to berries and insects. And their hunting strategy? Pure genius. They'll leap into the air and pounce on their prey with pinpoint accuracy. It's like watching a nature documentary meets an Olympic gymnastics routine. But the real kicker? Foxes communicate using a variety of sounds, including a scream-like call that's straight out of a horror movie. If you've ever been jolted awake by what sounds like a banshee in the night, congratulations. You've just heard a fox. Ah, the skunk. Few animals are as infamous as these black and white striped stinkers. Skunks are like the comedians of the nocturnal world. They waddle around with an air of confidence, knowing full well that no one's going to mess with them. Why? Because they've got the ultimate weapon, a noxious spray that can make even the bravest predator think twice. But here's the thing. Skunks don't spray willy-nilly. It's their last resort. Before unleashing their chemical warfare, they'll stomp their feet, arch their backs, and do a little warning dance. It's like they're saying, "Don't make me do it, you won't like me when I'm stinky." Skunks are also incredible diggers. They'll excavate lawns in search of grubs and insects, leaving behind little divots as evidence of their midnight snacking. So if you wake up to a lawn that looks like a golf course gone wrong, you know who to blame. Last but not least, let's talk about possums. These nocturnal marsupials are the ultimate survivors. They'll eat almost anything, play dead when threatened, and even emit a foul smell to sell the whole "I'm totally not alive" act. It's like they're auditioning for an Oscar in the category of best performance in a life-or-death situation. Possums also have a superpower. They're immune to most snake venom. So while you're busy freaking out over a rattlesnake, the possum is like, "What's for dinner?" And there you have it, the night shift of North America. A cast of characters as diverse as they are fascinating. From the stealthy owls and cunning foxes to the bug-munching bats and mischievous raccoons, these nocturnal creatures prove that the world doesn't go to sleep when the sun sets. So the next time you're out after dark, take a moment to listen, watch, and marvel at the bustling nightlife around you. Just don't leave your trash cans unlocked. You've been warned. Ah, wetlands, nature's symphony halls. No, seriously, these soggy landscapes are alive with music. Imagine a natural orchestra, where the instruments include honking geese, ribbiting frogs, buzzing insects, and of course the occasional alligator rumble that's more bass than any speaker you own. Welcome to North America's wetlands, where life thrives in muddy, marshy brilliance. Let's pull on some metaphorical waders and dive right in. Wetlands are like the Swiss Army knives of ecosystems. They're bogs, marshes, swamps and estuaries rolled into one big squelchy package. They clean water, prevent flooding, and are basically VIP sections for wildlife. But wait, there's more! Wetlands are home to some of the weirdest, most wonderful creatures you'll ever meet. Seriously, these places are like nature's Comic Con. Take, for example, the American alligator. This ancient armored beast is like the bouncer of the wetlands. You're not getting past Big Al without permission. Unless you're a brave heron that knows how to sidestep that toothy grin. Speaking of herons, wetlands are the red carpets of birdwatching. Great blue herons, snowy egrets and sandhill cranes strut their feathery stuff here like it's Fashion Week. Now let's talk frogs.
Yes, frogs!
These little jumpy dudes aren't just cute, they're vital. Frogs are like the canaries in the coal mines of the wetlands. If they're thriving, it's a good sign your swamp is doing its job. Plus, their love songs are iconic. Bullfrogs croak with all the subtlety of a foghorn, while spring peepers sound like tiny sleigh bells jingling in the night. And can we take a moment to appreciate salamanders? These slippery, secretive creatures are like the introverts of the wetland world. They're not flashy, but they're incredibly important. Hellbenders, affectionately known as water dogs or snot otters, are massive salamanders that look like they crawled out of a prehistoric swamp. They're weird, wonderful, and completely essential. No wetland exploration is complete without giving a standing ovation to its avian residents. Cranes are basically the opera singers of this ecosystem. Their haunting calls echo over marshes, a mix of beauty and melancholy that's straight out of a nature documentary narrated by Sir David Attenborough. Then there are the ducks. Mallards, pintails, and wood ducks bring a splash of color and a lot of quacking drama. Wood ducks in particular deserve a shout-out. These flashy little birds look like they're perpetually dressed for Mardi Gras. And let's not forget about geese, nature's most relentless honkers. Love them or fear them, they're the wetlands hype crew. Ah, the alligator, the ultimate wetland celebrity. These prehistoric reptiles are a reminder that dinosaurs didn't go extinct. They just downsized and moved to Florida. Gators are master hunters, silently lurking in the water with only their eyes and nostrils visible. And when they're not hunting, they're basking on the banks, looking like they own the place. Because let's be real, they kind of do. Fun fact, alligators have a special growl called a bellow that's loud enough to make the water ripple around them. It's like their way of saying, I'm the king of this swamp and don't you forget it. Respect. Wetlands are also buzzing with insects, literally. Dragonflies and damselflies zip around like tiny helicopters, and mosquitoes. Well, let's just say they're less popular performers. But even mosquitoes have their place in this ecosystem, though try telling that to someone covered in bites. Dragonflies, on the other hand, are absolute legends. These aerial acrobats can hover, fly backward, and even catch prey mid-flight. Plus, they're ancient. Dragonflies have been around for over 300 million years, which means they were zipping around before dinosaurs were even a thing. Of course, we can't forget the greenery. Cattails, mangroves, and lily pads aren't just decorative, they're vital. Mangroves act as nurseries for fish, while cattails provide shelter for birds and small mammals. And lily pads, they're basically nature's floating lounge chairs. Frogs and insects love to perch on them, creating tiny ecosystems on each pad. Sadly, wetlands are disappearing faster than free snacks at a party. Urban development, pollution, and climate change are taking a toll. But there's hope! Conservation efforts across North America are working to protect and restore these vital ecosystems. From wildlife refuges to wetland education programs, people are stepping up to save the swamps. And let's be honest, we need wetlands as much as they need us. They're not just homes for incredible wildlife, they're also natural water filters and flood preventers. Plus, where else can you hear the croak of a bullfrog, the honk of a goose, and the bellow of an alligator all in one place? The wetlands of North America are teeming with life, from the tiniest insects to the largest reptiles. They're muddy, magical, and absolutely essential. So next time you're near a swamp, take a moment to appreciate the symphony of sounds, the diversity of creatures, and the sheer beauty of these soggy sanctuaries. Just remember to bring bug spray. Let me paint a picture for you. Endless white, snow whipping across a vast expanse of nothingness, and temperatures so low, your eyebrows might just freeze into tiny stalactites. This is the Arctic, North America's frosty frontier, home to some of the most badass creatures on the planet. Here, life doesn't just survive, it thrives. and today we're going to hang out with the ghosts of this icy kingdom. Polar bears, narwhals, Arctic foxes, and more. Imagine being the top predator in a place where the menu mostly consists of slippery seals hiding under 6 feet of ice. That's a polar bear for you. A 1,500-pound snow beast with paws the size of dinner plates and a swagger that screams, "I'm the CEO of the Arctic." Polar bears are so good at hunting seals that seals probably have polar bear-themed horror movies they watch to scare their pups into staying in the den. Their hunting strategy? Pure genius. They'll wait near breathing holes in the ice, staying so still you'd think they've hit pause on their life. Then bam! They snatch the seal faster than you grab the last slice of pizza at a party. Oh, and fun fact, polar bears have black skin under all that fur. It's like they're goths at heart, but too cool to talk about it. But life isn't all seal feasts and frosty vibes. Climate change is melting the ice they depend on, turning their hunting grounds into polar bear swimming marathons. Imagine having to jog for hours just to find dinner. We'll dive into their survival challenges and how they're adapting. Spoiler, they're not thrilled about it. Let's talk about narwhals, aka the reason ancient sailors believed in unicorns. These majestic creatures look like someone stuck a spiral pasta noodle on their heads and called it a day. But that tusk, it's actually a tooth. And yes, it's as sensitive as your Wi-Fi router during a storm. Scientists think they use it to measure salinity, detect fish, or maybe even to duel for dominance. If narwhals could talk, they'd probably say, "Yeah, we're magical, deal with it." Narwhals are the stealthy ninjas of the Arctic seas. They can dive over a mile deep to hunt for fish and squid, holding their breath for up to 25 minutes. Meanwhile, I can't even hold my breath long enough to swim across a pool without feeling like I'm about to pass out. Respect narwhals, respect. If cuteness were a survival strategy, the Arctic fox would be unstoppable. These little guys are like walking marshmallows with ears. But don't let their adorable looks fool you. They're hardcore survivors. Their fur changes color with the seasons, white for winter, brown for summer, so they're basically nature's own fashion influencers. Arctic foxes are scavengers, which is a polite way of saying they're the "I'll eat whatever" friend in your group. They'll feast on everything from leftover polar bear kills to berries and lemmings. Oh, and speaking of lemmings, Arctic foxes' entire lives often revolve around these tiny rodents. It's like having a diet consisting entirely of your favorite snack. Imagine living off nothing but Doritos and somehow thriving. Iconic. Our harp seals, the darlings of the Arctic, those big soulful eyes and that adorable face. It's almost unfair how cute they are. But life isn't all sunshine and Instagram-worthy photo ops. Baby harp seals, also known as whitecoats, are born on the ice and left to fend for themselves after just a few weeks. It's like being kicked out of the house at 15 and told, "Good luck, kid." These seals are expert swimmers and can stay underwater for up to 15 minutes. They're also incredible divers, capable of reaching depths of 300 meters. Meanwhile, their main predators, polar bears and orcas, are constantly trying to make them dinner. Talk about living life on the edge. Snowy owls are the Arctic's version of a stealth bomber. With wingspans over 5 feet and the ability to fly completely silently, these birds are the stuff of rodent nightmares. Lemmings beware, the snowy owl is coming for you, and it's not here to play. These owls are also fiercely territorial. If you wander too close to their nest, prepare to be dive-bombed by an angry ball of feathers. They're like the Arctic's ultimate Karen, except instead of demanding to see your manager, they're demanding you leave their turf immediately. You might not think much about plankton and krill, but these tiny creatures are the real MVPs of the Arctic ecosystem. Without them, the food chain would collapse faster than a Jenga tower in a windstorm. They're the base of the Arctic's food web, feeding everything from fish to whales. Plankton are basically the buffet of the Arctic, while krill are like the popcorn shrimp of the sea. Whales, seals, and even some birds depend on these tiny creatures for survival. So next time you're thinking about the Arctic's big, flashy animals, spare a thought for the little guys holding it all together. We can't talk about the Arctic without addressing the big, icy elephant in the room: climate change. Rising temperatures are melting sea ice, threatening the survival of every creature we've talked about. Polar bears are losing their hunting grounds. Narwhals are navigating unfamiliar waters, and even the mighty krill are feeling the heat. But it's not all doom and gloom. Conservation efforts are underway, and people worldwide are stepping up to protect this fragile ecosystem. The Arctic is resilient, and so are its inhabitants. With a little help from us, these ghosts of the Arctic can continue to haunt, in the best way possible, for generations to come. And there you have it, folks. The Arctic isn't just a frozen wasteland. It's a vibrant, dynamic ecosystem full of life, drama, and more than a little mystery. So next time you think about the cold north, remember the polar bears, narwhals, and tiny krill fighting the good fight in one of the harshest environments on Earth. All right, buckle up, nature explorers. Now we're taking a wild rafting trip through the veins of North America, its mighty rivers. Imagine rivers as nature's highways. No tolls, no traffic jams, just a watery network teeming with life and drama. Let's dive in and explore how rivers like the Mississippi, Colorado, and St. Lawrence keep the continent's wildlife alive and kicking. Let's start with the legend itself, the Mississippi River. Stretching over 2,300 miles, this bad boy is like the ultimate all-you-can-eat buffet for wildlife. Picture this. A bald eagle swoops down to snatch a fish. A heron struts through the shallows like it owns the place. And a beaver, the engineer of the animal world, is busy building its dam. But wait, the Mississippi isn't just about glamour and Instagram-worthy birds. It's also home to some seriously weird underwater residents, like the paddlefish. This guy looks like someone glued a ruler to its face. And then there's the alligator snapping turtle, a prehistoric-looking creature that's basically a dinosaur in a shell. With jaws strong enough to chomp through bone, it's the Mike Tyson of turtles. Now you'd think rivers would be peaceful places, right? Think again. These waterways are the stage for some serious wildlife soap operas. Fish like bass and catfish are basically the river's apex predators, while minnows and insects are the snack-sized cast members trying not to get eaten. And let's not forget the amphibians. Frogs croak their hearts out during mating season, basically yelling, "Pick me," to any potential partners. But their love songs come with risks. Snakes like the water moccasin are always lurking, ready to crash the party. It's like a reality dating show where the losers get eaten. Heading west, we've got the Colorado River, the lifeline of the arid Southwest. Without this river, the Grand Canyon would just be a big dry hole. But instead, it's a thriving ecosystem. Here you'll find creatures like the humpback chub, a fish that sounds more like a dance move than a species. This guy has adapted to the river's crazy currents, proving that even fish can have superhero-like abilities. And don't overlook the river otters. These playful furballs are like the stand-up comedians of the animal kingdom, sliding down riverbanks and making everyone laugh. Rivers often create wetlands, and these areas are basically nature's daycare centers. The Mississippi Delta, for example, is a sprawling nursery for young fish, shrimp, and crabs. These wetlands are also hotspots for birds like egrets and ibises. Watching them hunt is like seeing a pro fisherman at work, except they don't need fancy rods or bait. Moving north, we've got the St. Lawrence River, a key route for animals migrating between fresh water and the Atlantic Ocean. This river is the playground of beluga whales, those adorable white cetaceans that look like they're always smiling. And then there's the Atlantic sturgeon, a fish so ancient it probably remembers when dinosaurs roamed. These guys can grow up to 14 feet long. Imagine swimming next to that. Terrifying and awesome at the same time. Okay, we've got to talk about the elephant in the room, humans. Rivers have been both blessed and cursed by us. On the one hand, conservation efforts have helped species like the bald eagle and river otter make a comeback. On the other hand, pollution and dam construction have disrupted ecosystems. Take the Colorado River, for instance. It's so overused for agriculture and cities that it barely reaches the sea anymore. Imagine running a marathon and being forced to stop 100 meters from the finish line. Frustrating, right? That's the Colorado River's life story. Here's the thing, rivers aren't just water, they're life. They connect ecosystems, provide food and shelter, and support biodiversity. Without rivers, North America would be a much duller, drier place. So next time you're near a river, take a moment to appreciate it. Maybe skip a stone, watch a heron fish, or just listen to the water's soothing flow. Because rivers, my friends, are the unsung heroes of the natural world. Ready to dive into the next adventure?
Let's keep this journey flowing.
All right, nature enthusiasts, grab your snorkels. We're diving into the mysterious, magical world of North America's freshwater ecosystems. From the vast Great Lakes to hidden streams and serene ponds, these underwater realms are teeming with life, drama, and creatures so bizarre you'd think they were dreamed up by a sci-fi writer. Let's start with the crown jewels, the Great Lakes. These 5 massive bodies of water, Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie, and Ontario, hold about 20% of the world's fresh water. Yeah, you heard that right, 20%. That's enough water to drown an army of rubber duckies. But it's not just about the water, it's about what's in it. Lake Superior, for example, is home to lake trout that can grow to the size of a small child. And then there's the invasive sea lamprey, a creepy eel-like creature with a suction cup mouth full of teeth. It's basically the vampire of the lakes, latching onto fish and draining their blood. Dracula, eat your heart out. Freshwater ecosystems are full of quirky fish with personalities as colorful as their scales. Take the smallmouth bass, for example. This feisty predator is the boxer of the fish world, ready to throw down with anything that gets too close. Or the bluegill, which looks like a tiny swimming pancake, but is surprisingly strategic when it comes to avoiding predators. And let's not forget the muskellunge, or muskie for short. This sleek predator is the Michael Phelps of freshwater fish, capable of lightning-fast strikes. Fishermen call it the fish of 10,000 casts, because catching one is so rare. It's like the unicorn of North American rivers and lakes, except it'll bite you. Moving away from fish for a moment, let's talk amphibians. North America's freshwater ecosystems are home to some true amphibian superstars. Take the bullfrog, for instance. This guy has a call that sounds like a foghorn and an appetite so big it'll eat anything it can fit in its mouth, including birds and other frogs. It's the glutton of the wetlands. Then there's the spotted salamander, which looks like it's wearing a polka-dotted tuxedo. This little guy has a fascinating life cycle, starting out in vernal pools that form in the spring and disappearing underground for most of the year. It's like nature's introvert, only coming out to party when conditions are perfect. Now let's get small, really small. Freshwater ecosystems are full of invertebrates that play a huge role in keeping everything balanced. Dragonfly larvae, for example, are the stealth assassins of the underwater world. They lie in wait, then shoot out a jaw like a mechanical claw to snatch their prey. It's equal parts terrifying and awesome. And don't even get me started on crayfish. These mini lobsters are like the construction workers of the freshwater world, digging burrows and rearranging rocks. Plus, they're hilarious to watch when they get defensive, raising their claws like tiny boxers ready to throw a punch. Of course, no underwater ecosystem would be complete without plants. From the flowing strands of eelgrass to the floating pads of water lilies, freshwater plants provide food, shelter, and oxygen for countless creatures. Have you ever seen a painted turtle sunbathing on a lily pad? It's like nature's version of a spa day. Unfortunately, it's not all sunshine and cattails. North America's freshwater ecosystems face a lot of challenges, many of them caused by humans. Pollution, invasive species, and habitat destruction are putting a strain on these fragile environments. Take zebra mussels, for example. These tiny invaders came over from Europe and have spread like wildfire, clogging pipes and outcompeting native species. They're like the uninvited party guests who eat all the snacks and refuse to leave. So why should we care about these underwater marvels? Well, for one thing, they're essential for biodiversity. Freshwater ecosystems support everything from microscopic plankton to massive sturgeon. They're also vital for humans, providing drinking water, food, and even recreational opportunities. Ever gone kayaking on a calm river or fishing in a quiet lake? Then you've experienced the magic of freshwater firsthand. So there you have it, folks. A deep dive into North America's freshwater ecosystems. Next time you're near a lake, river, or stream, take a moment to appreciate all the life teeming just below the surface. And maybe, just maybe, you'll spot a muskie, hear a bullfrog's call, or catch a glimpse of a dragonfly zipping through the air. Freshwater ecosystems are like nature's hidden treasure. All you have to do is look. The changing seasons. For us humans, it's all about swapping wardrobes, complaining about the weather, and arguing over pumpkin spice lattes. But for animals, it's a high-stakes game of survival, and every creature has its own clever and sometimes downright hilarious strategy for getting through it. Let's start with winter, because nothing screams tough like surviving when the world turns into a giant freezer. First up, we've got the masters of coziness, bears. Black bears and grizzlies don't mess around when it comes to hibernation. They pack on the pounds, living our collective dream of eating without judgment, and then snooze away the cold months in a den. But here's the kicker. They don't even wake up to pee. Their bodies recycle waste into protein, which is basically nature's version of multitasking. And then there are the smaller, scrappier winter survivors like squirrels. These little furballs hoard food like doomsday preppers, stuffing nuts into every crevice they can find. Fun fact, squirrels forget about 25% of their hidden stash. Yep, they're basically the forgetful grandmas of the animal kingdom, but their accidental gardening helps trees grow, so it's all good. Speaking of winter pros, have you seen a snowshoe hare? These guys are the ultimate fashion icons, changing their fur color to match the snow. It's like swapping your coat for camouflage, practical and chic. But beware of their predators, like lynxes, who are just as adept at navigating the snowy landscape. It's a high-speed chase on snow-covered terrain, like an episode of Animal Planet Winter Olympics. As winter fades and spring arrives, the world bursts back into life. This is the time for baby animals, budding plants and allergies, for us at least. For animals, spring is all about one thing: reproduction. Birds, like the iconic robins, start singing their hearts out to attract mates. It's nature's version of Tinder, except way more romantic and with a lot more chirping. Frogs take spring partying to the next level. Male frogs gather at ponds to sing, and by sing, I mean croak loudly until a lady frog notices. It's a rowdy amphibian concert, and the louder the croak, the better the chances of scoring a date. But beware, fellas. Predators like herons are lurking nearby, ready to turn your romantic evening into a snack. Summer, the season of abundance. For animals, it's all about making hay while the sun shines. Deer graze on lush greenery, fish fatten up in warm waters, and bees buzz around like caffeine-fueled workaholics. Summer is basically the animal kingdom's version of a buffet. But summer isn't all sunshine and daisies. It's also the season of fierce competition. Take male bison, for example. During the rut, they engage in head-butting battles to prove their dominance. Imagine a heavyweight boxing match, but with way more fur and fewer rules. Meanwhile, in the insect world, ants work tirelessly to stockpile food, proving once again that they're the overachievers of nature. As the days grow shorter and the air gets crisp, animals shift gears to prepare for the lean times ahead. Birds like geese and monarch butterflies embark on epic migrations. Monarchs, in particular, steal the show with their journey to Mexico. These tiny insects travel thousands of miles, which is like running a marathon every day for weeks. And you thought your commute was rough. Back on the ground, animals like chipmunks get busy collecting food. These little guys are like squirrels on steroids, stuffing their cheeks with seeds until they look like they're auditioning for a cartoon. Meanwhile, bears double down on eating, consuming up to 20,000 calories a day. That's the equivalent of 100 cheeseburgers. Talk about living the dream. Of course, not all animals migrate, hibernate, or hoard. Some creatures adapt to seasonal changes in surprising ways. Take the Arctic fox, for example. In winter, its fur turns white to blend in with the snow, and in summer it shifts to brown or grey. It's like having a built-in seasonal wardrobe. And then there's the wood frog, which takes winter survival to the next level. This amphibian literally freezes itself solid, stopping its heartbeat and breathing. Come spring, it thaws out and hops away like nothing happened. It's basically the superhero of frogs. So what can we learn from these seasonal survivors? For one, preparation is key. Whether it's hoarding nuts, building a den, or growing a winter coat, animals remind us that thinking ahead pays off. They also show us the importance of flexibility. Life throws curveballs, and sometimes you've just got to roll with it. Or in the case of the wood frog, freeze and wait it out. From the icy grip of winter to the vibrant buzz of summer, the changing seasons bring endless challenges and opportunities for North America's wildlife. Each season tells a story of resilience, creativity, and a little bit of humor. So next time you're grumbling about the weather, remember, somewhere out there, a squirrel is burying nuts, a bear is snoozing, and a frog is pulling off the ultimate freeze-thaw trick. Nature's got this whole seasonal survival thing down to a science and a comedy. All right, picture this. North America, home to some of the coolest, quirkiest, and downright majestic creatures. You've got the bald eagle soaring high, the bison charging like a true cowboy in the Wild West, and even the mighty cougar, aka the mountain lion, who apparently didn't get the memo that cougars are supposed to be more glamorous than fierce predators. But here's the kicker. Many of these amazing creatures are in real danger. They're on the endangered species list, and that's where conservation efforts come in. So grab your binoculars and your most enthusiastic Save the World voice. It's time to dive deep into the serious, but not without some laughs, world of North American endangered species and the epic battle to keep them from disappearing into the pages of history. Spoiler alert, this isn't just about saving adorable animals, it's about saving a whole ecosystem. Now, let's meet some of the stars of the endangered list. First up, we've got the grey wolf. These guys are not just cute and cuddly, in the don't pet them, they'll eat your lunch way. They're also apex predators who help control animal populations. But guess what? They're on the brink of extinction. Why? Well, humans decided to build things like cities and farms where the wolves used to roam, and suddenly it's less wild and more civilization. Wolves found themselves caught between a rock and a hard place. Conservationists are working to reintroduce them to areas where they used to roam. But you know, some wolves aren't into reboots. They're kind of picky. Next we have the American bison.
Ever seen a bison lumbering across the plains like it's on its way to a beastly brunch?
Well, these guys were almost wiped out, thanks to hunting and habitat loss. A few years ago, the population was down to less than 1,000.
Talk about a close call.
Luckily, bison are making a strong comeback with careful conservation efforts. They're like the comeback kid of the animal world, and you gotta love a good underdog story. Then there's the Florida panther. Imagine a sleek, muscular cat with an incredibly low tolerance for tourists. That's the Florida panther for you. Once roaming the entire southeast, these panthers are now confined to a few regions in Florida due to habitat destruction. It's not just the shrinking territory that's a problem. Inbreeding has led to some genetic health issues. But don't worry, conservationists are working their tails off, literally, to help these panthers survive and thrive. And finally, let's talk about the whooping crane. If there's one bird that deserves a standing ovation, it's the whooping crane. With their long legs and dramatic wingspan, they were once nearly wiped out due to hunting and habitat loss. But like a phoenix rising from the ashes, if the phoenix was a giant crane, they're making a comeback. Conservationists have been carefully raising crane chicks and even teaching them how to migrate with the help of, wait for it, ultralight aircraft. Yeah, you read that right, crane pilots.
Take that, Top Gun.
Now, you may be wondering, why are these animals in danger? Well, first off, North America is a little too busy. Cities, roads, farms, and let's be honest, Instagram influencers have been taking over the lands that once belonged to these animals. But it's not just about the lack of space. It's also the growing threats of pollution, climate change, and hunting. Many species are left with nowhere to go, and their food sources are disappearing faster than that last slice of pizza at a party. Habitat loss is a huge factor. Simply put, we humans have a knack for taking what's wild and turning it into shopping malls, highways, or real estate for that great new coffee shop. This means animals that once roamed free now find themselves in cramped spaces, making survival much harder. It's like forcing a grizzly bear to live in a studio apartment. Not the best idea. Climate change also plays a big part. The planet's temperature is rising, and animals are feeling the heat. Some species need very specific climates to survive, and when those conditions change, it's like telling a penguin to go live in the desert. Not great. For example, polar bears are having a tough time as their icy homes melt away faster than an ice cream cone on a summer day. Then there's hunting and poaching, which are also major contributors. While many species are endangered because of habitat destruction, others face the dark side of human activity: hunting. Whether for sport, fur, or traditional medicines, many species have faced massive declines due to poaching. Fun fact, there are more laws now to protect animals than there were in the past, but some folks still haven't gotten the memo. Lastly, let's talk about invasive species. North America is home to some pretty unique ecosystems, but throw in a few non-native species, and things can get out of hand quickly. These invaders often outcompete native species for food and shelter, leaving the locals in a bit of a bind. It's like throwing a party and realizing you've invited the wrong crowd, the ones who drink all the punch and take your favorite snacks. But here's the good news. There are superheroes on the case. No capes required here, just a lot of hard work and determination. Enter the world of conservationists, animal experts, and government organizations doing their best to save the day. They're like the Avengers of the wildlife world. Reintroduction. Programs are one of the coolest methods. Some species, like the grey wolf, are being reintroduced to areas where they've been absent for years. It's like hitting the refresh button on nature. Sometimes this means carefully bringing in animals, making sure they're healthy, and even teaching them how to do things they've forgotten. Remember those whooping cranes flying with ultralights? That's one example of a wild reintroduction tactic. Then there are protected areas, which are like the ultimate safe zones for endangered species. They're huge patches of land and water where human interference is minimized and animals can roam freely. It's kind of like setting up a wildlife party and telling everyone, this area is strictly BYO food, but no humans allowed. Captive breeding programs are another game changer. These are essentially animal matchmaking services that aim to increase populations of endangered species. Think Tinder, but for wildlife. Once the animals are strong enough, they're released back into the wild to help their species thrive.
Talk about a comeback story.
Of course, education and awareness also play a huge role. You know those campaigns where they show you sad pictures of animals with a deep voice saying, "Help save them"? Yeah, they work. Awareness is key in getting people to care about endangered species. After all, if people know the issue, they'll be more likely to do something about it.
Knowledge is power, baby.
The extinction clock is ticking, but thanks to the hard work of conservationists, scientists, and even you, yes, you reading this, there's hope. The battle is tough, but it's far from lost. Every action, from protecting habitats to donating to causes or simply sharing this info with friends, counts. So remember, the next time you see a bison majestically galloping through the plains or a wolf howling at the moon, know this: these creatures still have a chance. But only if we're all in this fight together. And hey, if you're not into saving the world just yet, at least you can say you learned something new and got a good laugh out of it.